Good evening, East Alabama. Welcome into the locker room on this Wednesday afternoon. Also, welcome into anyone that doesn't live in East Alabama, because I'm sure we're going to have viewers today that live outside of our area. My name's Namath. Today we are joined by Jeremy Waters in studio. Jeremy has done a lot for the sport of wrestling in the state of Alabama. A lot of experience running track wrestling, making sure things happen at tournaments all across the state every single weekend. Also done some broadcasting for the NFHS and Flow Wrestling during the state tournament. So, Jeremy, your history with wrestling runs deep, so why don't you kind of go ahead and tell people about yourself?
Yeah, I started wrestling in the 9th grade. I've coached several places, won some state championships out at Welborn, your alma mater. Did a little coaching after that, coached some youth wrestling, had a son that come through, was a pretty good wrestler, and started running a state tournament about 15 years ago. I've been retired a couple of years from that, and a sectional tournament about 20 years ago. So, yeah, I've been around wrestling most of my life.
All right, so for people that are watching us across the state now, Jeremy, we had a lot of people that were keeping up with the locker room last season. I believe that we did our best effort in trying to make sure that we covered wrestling unlike anyone else in the state of Alabama. We did interviews, of course. If you're wondering where we're at, we're here in Calhoun County. That's where our headquarters are located. But we cover wrestling, of course, right here in East Alabama. We have some great teams. Weaver. We cover, of course, Calhoun County and Cleburne County. So Ramburn and Cleburne County, two powerhouses in Cleburne County. We cover, of course, Weaver, Alexandria, Sacs, Welborn, White Plains, Oxford, any local team around here. But my history, my name's Namath Pitts. I wrestled at Welborn as well. I was never a top guy. Now, both of my brothers made the state finals. For me personally, I don't think I really necessarily, and I trained with Rod Gaddy for years in Birmingham, but I was one of them guys, Jeremy, where truthfully I was kind of, my brothers were the ones that had the pressure, and I saw that, and I think it maybe made me back off a little bit and wanting to, but I did make the state tournament, of course. I made the state tournament in Huntsville, never placed, but did make the state tournament. But for me, I've been a referee now for 4 years, did it locally here in East Alabama, have reffed in Georgia the past 2 years, and I'm going to be refereeing up north this season. So of course, I know a little bit about wrestling. You don't just have two dudes from Anniston talking about wrestling that have no experience with wrestling.
Exactly.
We've been around the sport a little bit. I've trained with guys like, Sullivan Tipton, who was a state champion in Oak Mountain. You look at guys like the Latonas at Thompson. So I've been around guys that know the sport. All right, Jimmy, today you brought your top preseason rankings.
I did.
I brought my preseason rankings. People, let's go ahead and put this. We don't want to put anybody down. That's not our goal today. We're not here to speak negatively on one program or another. Just because you're not in the top 10 rankings doesn't mean that we disrespect your program or disrespect a coach. So I want to be very clear, because our relationship with coaches is number one to us. We want to make sure we have a positive relationship. If you disagree, you disagree. That's the beauty of our rankings and your rankings. We may disagree, but we have our reasons for why we have these rankings, and that's what's so fun about this is I'm the guy that gives rat poison to certain locker rooms, and Jeremy, you're joining me in giving rat poison.
Exactly.
So we don't have any 7A teams right here in East Alabama, but we're going to start with 7A. Jeremy, we're going to look at your 7A rankings, and then we're going to take a look at mine. So we're going to compare and contrast our rankings, starting with Class 7A. So let's go ahead and show everybody out there what Jeremy's Class 7A rankings look like. All right, there's the rankings right there, Jeremy. So walk me through your 7A rankings.
Yeah, the past few years we're used to seeing Thompson ranked at the top, and there's no doubt in my mind they're going to be back up there. I do have them 3 this year. I think they lost a lot of seniors. Do have some seniors coming back. I put Vestavia as my number 1. It's simply a numbers game to me. They're bringing back just about every point they scored in the state tournament. Coach T. Adams does a good job out there with Vestavia and getting the kids out there. They did finish 5th last year, but they have a couple of state champions and Andrew Sullivan. And I definitely think the blue and red robes will definitely be out in full force come state tournament time. So I do have Vestavia number 1. I put Hewitt Trustwell number 2. They finished 3rd last year, but are bringing back 5 placers. So like I said, again, a numbers game. I think they just have enough to score to be second, and maybe depending on the matchups, they could give Vestavia a run as number 1. I mentioned Thompson as 3. They have the Vines kid who may be one of the top ranked wrestlers in the state of Alabama on their team, but he can't do it alone. He's got to have some scoring. But Coach Wilson's going to have a team regardless. He always seems to go find wrestlers that score points for him, and he'll have a young 7th, 8th, or 9th grader that comes up that's going to score some points in lighter weight. So he always seems to do that. And my next one, I have a Huntsville, Pat Harris. They dominated the 7A last year. They were building that team for years and years and years, and they did lose 7 seniors But they are returning 5 juniors that'll be seniors next year, and 2 of those 5 juniors were state champions. So Huntsville could be poised to make a run. Maybe again, some things have to go right for them to do that. They do have the Simon brothers. They're 2 of the best wrestlers in the state, regardless of classification. So those kids are pretty good. And my 5th that we're talking about there is going to be Enterprise. Kind of a sleeper team to me. They finished 7th last year. They're bringing back every point they had. So they did have 2 state champions, Stifler and Hunt. Both of those guys are pretty good wrestlers down there, and they kind of go under the radar being way South Alabama, and being in the South section is really going to help them qualify more kids than they would if they were in the North. So I think it's going to be a points game for them. So that's my top 5 right there. I also got Smith Station and Daphne in there. Daphne's returning every kid they had. They're not graduating any seniors. I got Bob Jones. Like I was talking to Namath earlier, I would have Bob Jones a little higher, but except for Coach Sweatman has left, took another job, and they've got a new coach, Joe Hill. He's going to do a good job there. I just think he's going to need a couple of years to build, and with Eric Shankles there helping him, they have a good youth program to feed that. Mm-hmm. And then my last year at Oak Mountain and Opelika, just a numbers point. They do have some points coming back, and if I had to pick one that I think that I underrate, I think Opelika may be something that could push for the top 5 maybe there.
Yeah, and the interesting thing I see right here is we're going to have a little bit of a difference in our 1 through 5 and a little shake-up at our lower half. So let's go ahead and take a look at mine and see how mine is different from Jeremy's. So looking at mine, I do agree with you on one thing, and that is that Vestavia Hills is, in my opinion, the top team in Class 7A. They returned all 9 state qualifiers from a year ago. T. Adams, of course, has already won one there, again, and I think he's going to bring home another one this year. The history speaks there. I know Huntsville lost half their lineup, but we're talking, you know how many guys Huntsville had? They had 14. So that means they still have 7 guys coming back, Jeremy. And them 2s, I've seen Huntsville up close. Got to referee them 2 years ago in Georgia at a duels tournament. I've talked, of course, with Huntsville's coach a couple times, and I think, but you look at those 2s. Those 2s were as good as some 1s in other schools. And so I don't really see a big drop-off with 2. And I'm actually, Jeremy, I'm so high on Jeffcoat and Daphne this year.
Okay.
Because they bring back 10 state qualifiers from a year, which is actually more than Vestavia and Huntsville. And he's kind of been building this program. The girls are already seeing immediate success, already brought home state championships. Now with the reclassification, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Daphne girls because they're not going to be able to have as many scores as they've had. But I'm going to show my girls' rankings in a little bit. Yeah, we're including girls today too, by the way, not leaving them off. Like you said, Thompson's been there, so it's a little interesting to see them a little lower. I do think they're going to be good. They lose 5 seniors from a year ago. I still think there's a lot of talent coming back for them. I could see Thompson at 1 or 2, or I could see Hewitt Trustful at 5. I could see them a little higher. I look at Hewitt Trustful. They do lose a couple guys, but I think they have a couple guys that can make some individual runs. And then I agree with you on Smith Station. I think Smith Station is going to be really good this year. I got Enterprise at 7. Enterprise is a team to keep an eye on. I'm a little higher on Opelika. I put Opelika at 8. I've got Oak Mountain at 9. Oak Mountain returned 6. 4 of those 6, by the way, were state placers a year ago. And I went with Tuscaloosa County at 10 because I really think you talk to most people across the state, Jeremy, they're talking about Tuscaloosa County and talking about the guy. Obviously, the biggest thing here is I don't have Bob Jones. And again, my reason for that is, like you said, they got 2 really good coaches obviously coming in. Great head coach, great assistant coach. But for me, they only had 4 guys that are going to be back from last year's team. And they're not going to enter rebuilding mode by any stretch of imagination. But when you have a coach that leaves, like Sweatman that was there for so long, you are going to typically see at least a little bit of a drop-off. And so I think Tuscaloosa County's coming up. Vestavia Hills, though, certainly the team to beat in Class 7A this year. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Class 6A. So we're going to transition to 6A, Jeremy, and go ahead and walk us through, because we got a couple teams, by the way. Gulf Shore's moving up, Southside moving up.
Right.
And Jasper's moving up, but only one of those is in your top 10.
One of those is my top 10, yes. This 6A to me was the hardest to rank, besides number 1, to tell you the truth. I think 6A has really closed the gap on 7A. In a lot of classifications. Between the classifications, I think, and I also think of the 4 super sections, this is going to be the most evenly distributed between North and South. But I do have Mountain Brook number 1, the defending state champs by a lot. They run away with it. They lost 4 senior qualifiers, but they're bringing back 146 points. And that's just assuming everybody places the same. It could be more, could be less. And guys, listen, we don't figure in transfers or injuries or anything.
This is based on non-transfers.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of this is based on numbers and things like that. So, one transfer to a program could make all the difference in the world.
Let me reiterate that. This is not based on transfers, because you may be going with Namath. Athens got, and I don't know, Athens may got 0 transfers. I'm just saying, Athens might have got 4 transfers this offseason. I don't know that.
Right.
So this is based. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this, because I have heard, we'll talk about a team a little bit. They got 2 transfers this offseason, which that's going to be an important factor for their ranking later.
Right. But Mountain Brook does have 4 state runner-ups coming back too. So that's going to be hungry to get the first place on that podium and give up that second place medal. And I don't think any team in 6A can really run with them in duels or traditional, either one. I think Mountain Brook is going to be the team to beat.
So you think there's a wide margin from Mountain Brook to Homewood?
I would be safe to say 30 or 40 points. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot, but Mountain Brook is really going in the right direction there. Homewood finished 3rd last year. They lost 5 seniors. They got 10 of the 12 qualifiers placed in the top 6 last year. So I think they're going to come back. Very talented team there in Homewood. They're there. They're, again, like I said, I think everybody's competing for second place in there, so that's big. I do have Athens coming back. They're bringing all their points back. There's a lot of points over the lineup. They do have Will Anderson, who may be pound for pound the best wrestler.
He's still in school
in the state of Alabama.
Dude, I remember when he was in 7th grade. I think I was still in school.
He was good then too, and then he may be pound for pound the best wrestler in the state of Alabama. I think a lot of people think that too. But he's really good. You got the Campbell brothers that's there, the coach's sons. They're poised to make a run at podium this year. So I really think Athens can do that. And Athens, they may push Homewood right there. I do have Gardendale there, and just one word for Gardendale: you have the Poes. You still have 2 Poes left in that lineup. Both were state champions last year. That's going to bring back a lot of points there. A very young team. But, I think those Poes push them to be harder. There's only 2 left, guys. So coaches, you got to sweat 2 more. But one of them is a 7th grader. So, you're going to sweat for a little bit.
There's probably 5 cousins coming from some direction.
Yeah, maybe so. But
he's been a Poe wrestling forever.
Forever. So, another team I'm really high on is Pike Road. I really like this team.
I agree.
They have 1 senior state champion that graduated. And they're bringing back all those guys. The Cody Kirk is there, which is a really good wrestler for Pike Road. I think they could be a sleeper team that maybe could even move up the rankings a little more.
I think they're going to be really good. They're going to
be. There's a lot of athletes there. Coach Duncan has done a good job there. He's one of the coaches there, and he's coached St. James, and he coached in college a little bit, and then he's helping him out at Pike. I'm not sure if he's head coach maybe, but he's had Pike Road. His son graduated this past year, was state champion.
I remember when his son wrestled.
So his son was a state champion and he's graduated, but that's the only senior they had that graduated.
It's crazy because I graduated in 2019, but it feels like some of these guys that graduated last year were like 7th graders.
Oh right,
or
absolutely.
Now. And for me, looking back, it's like, dude, I remember when that kid came in the 7th grade, and you know what I'm saying? I was a senior on my way out, but I remember when that guy came in 7th grade, and he was already like, you're talking about Duncan's. Like, I remember when he'd come up, and he was, already like, people were talking about him.
It's not taking a pause, but it's not like it was when, I graduated a long time ago, and I bet in the middle 90s, and there was no such thing as youth wrestling. You didn't hear about it. They did, some of the bigger schools had youth wrestling in bigger cities and stuff like that. But now you have youth clubs all over the place that are feeding these programs. So you're getting kids coming in as 7th graders that have 5-6 years on the mat experience that are really good. So, and we'll see it later on in 1A through 4A classification especially. Some of these younger kids can really place in state tournaments and win. There's 7th graders that people licking their chops to get to. I remember when I coached at Wellborn those few years, we had a kid named Dalton Carroll. Dalton real well, and and he runs a good club out of Wellborn, and we knew who Dalton was. When he was in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, we knew who he was. In 7th grade, we were there to get him, and he was state champion, So, it was immediate success there. So,
And you got Hartsel at 6, new head coach Jasper moving up to 7. Spanish Fort, though, you put them in your top 10. Explain that to me. Yeah,
I just think they're one of the teams I had that maybe underperformed last year. I think going to come back and bring some points in. And let's go back to Hartsel just a second. Hartsel would be higher on my list again with a new head coach. I have a hard time moving those any higher than that because of the new head coach. And Coach Quattlebaum is going to do a good job there. He's a great coach. But losing their head coach had been there 3 or 4 years, I think, and I think they're going to get back one of the kids they've had out for a couple of years that was had some problems. I think he'll be back. He's going to score some points, maybe a state champion for Hartselle. So I did jump Mortimer Jordan down a lot.
Yeah,
they lost a lot. And look, I like Coach Payton. This is no shot against him. I just think it's going to be a rebuilding year for them. And then one team I really like, and I put Pell City. They qualified a lot of kids, and not a whole lot of kids. Not a whole lot of wrestlers scored points in the tournament last year. So I think they're going to be back and kind of with a vengeance, trying to score some points, and they've got a young team. So I think Pell City, kind of give them a shout out, being a little local here, but I do like Coach Hufford there, and I think they're going to do a good job. Pell City.
All right, Jeremy, I already noticed a couple big differences in mine and yours in Class 6A. So let's go ahead and take a look at my Class 6A. Let's start with your 9 is my 2. I mean, look, I realize that Mortimer Jordan is obviously losing 5 seniors, but they've got 5 coming back that have been instrumental to the success of this program. And this is another team that I feel like you look at what they've had traditionally. This is a traditional program. Every year we talk about, and this is no disrespect to other people, but we talk about these other teams like Homewood, Gardendale, but who is it that always ends up in the top 3? No matter what year it is, who seems to find a way to get towards the top?
They grind it out.
Mortimer Jordan. When it is time in February and them lights cut on in Huntsville, that is a team, they may not win it, but they are creeping up them standings.
Right.
And you get to the final day and you go, we thought Mortimer Jordan was the 5th best team in the tournament. All of a sudden, they're sitting here bringing home a red trophy.
100%.
And so I do think there's a gap from Mountain Brook to 2. Like, no disrespect to any of these other teams. I hope they prove us wrong. But Mountain Brook, man, like, they returned 9 guys. They had 13 state qualifiers last year. They returned 9. You just look at the way that program is being ran right now. It is just phenomenal. Yeah. I like Athens too, man. You talk about they might have the best pound-for-pound wrestler in the state of Alabama, obviously. I think you look at, they are losing some guys that were like, obviously big player, big guys for them in the lineup. But again, you still look at, you got a guy like Anderson in the room. He's going to make every single person better.
100%.
Homewood is 4, and of course I got, right there at 5, Gardendale. I got Pike Road at 6, but let me tell you this: the team with the highest ceiling this year, in my opinion, 6A is Pike Road.
Correct.
I think
so too.
I think they could go as far up as a 2 if they put it together at the right time. And I really think that Pike Road is a really good team. Hartselle, again, I dropped them a little lower than you at 7. Fort Payne, you didn't have Fort Payne in your top 10, but I look at Fort Payne, man. They've got a lot of pieces coming back. They did return, of course, some key points, but then Jasper's moving up at 9. But I do agree with you with Pell City. They may not have really scored much at the state tournament a year ago, but I do think they're traditionally competing there. What's interesting is neither one of us put Gulf Shores in here. Neither one of us put Southside in here. And Spain Park's dropping from 7A to 6A. That typically helps teams, but seems like me and you, neither one of us think Spain Park.
I took a look at Spain Park. They are losing a lot. They are losing a lot. I did take a look at that. Gulf Shores, the last couple of years, Gulf Shores should have been the team to beat in 5A with the qualifiers they had. And I know they're in the South, and everybody's going to say they were in the South section, which is the easier section, and qualify. But I mean, it's like you said, when the lights come on, Mortimer Jordan seems to shine. It seems like Gulf Shores here lately. Lights come on, they seem to lose matches they shouldn't lose, and things like that. To me, to put them in my, I'm gonna have to see a little more from Gulf Shores and moving up. I think it's going to be a little more difficult. I wanted to put Jasper in there. I really like Coach Otis there, but I think they're going to have a couple of years before they start pushing in my ranking.
Yeah, and Southside, the reason I think Southside is going to have a hard time adjusting from 5A to 6A. But
they are. And
that is a local team
Southside, they got some couple of kids coming back that can compete. They're going to be Southside's Coach Knight is one of my best friends, and give him a shout out here. But he has a decent team coming back. But I think the jump there, he's one of those teams wishing they probably would have stayed 5A. That could have made a bigger push if they're 5A. But that's things you can't control. So you just got to move on and see what you can do at a bigger classification. All
right, so that's our 7A and 6A rankings. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Class 5A, which, in my opinion, Jeremy is a little down this year. And we're also going to take a look at girls' rankings, and then we're going to go ahead and close the show today with 1A through 4A. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back as we continue on the Lockeroom.
Good stuff.
For over 60 years, Oxford Lumber has been servicing our area, and our customer service has always been our main focus. Our customer service is what sets us apart from anyone else. From the moment you enter, our highly trained staff will treat you like family.
to enthusiastically provide total customer satisfaction within a positive and self-fulfilling employee relations environment. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or at oxfordlumber.com.
Since 1993, WM Grocery has been a major part of our local community. WM offers the very best in fresh produce and an outstanding meat department. WM also has many local products not found anywhere else and fresh sushi every day. If you need an event catered, come see Mrs. K at any WM store. Curbside pickup is also available for your online grocery orders. Be sure to download the WM app for all the deals of the week and shopper rewards. Go check them out today at any of their locations.
We take pride in our community and appreciate your business.
For metal buildings in Alabama and the Southeast, Waldrop Manufacturing is your one-stop source. A Waldrop metal building provides the coverage and protection your investments need. They specialize in carports, RV covers, portable buildings, and storage buildings. Stop paying rent for storage. With Waldrop's price per foot, you can actually save money by buying straight from the manufacturer. Waldrop buildings are guaranteed because Waldrop manufactures buildings with U.S. steel right here in Calhoun County. Waldrop Manufacturing, serving the entire Southeast. Give them a call today.
We are back on the Locker Room on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm joined by Jeremy Waters in studio. My name is Namath Pitts. We are breaking down our preseason rankings for wrestling. And you may be asking us, why are you doing wrestling rankings at the end of July? It's the last day of July. August starts tomorrow. You still got football season. But Jeremy, people have been asking for them. I did some volleyball and football rankings about 2 weeks ago, and people have been asking, hey, what about wrestling? Can we go ahead and get some wrestling rankings? So people want to see some wrestling content, so we're bringing it to you. All right, Jeremy, Class 5A. There's a lot of teams that went up to 6A. Tallahassee drops to 1A through 4A. 5A is just not strong this year.
Yeah, I think, we talk about how moving classifications will either help you or hurt you. And I think Tallahassee dropping along with Alexandria, it might hurt them, their chances of placing, behind, a good Weaver team. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then, I think it actually helped Corner. As you see, they're my number 3 moving up from 1A through 4A. So, but I think at Scottsboro, the sectional, the super section for each one of these is brutal. The North is brutal in this section. I've got 7 of my 10 teams coming from the North there, and it's just brutal. And I think Scottsboro is poised to win by a lot. Yeah. They could have kids all over the finals.
Would you go as far as say 100 points?
I don't know if I'd put 100 because of the way the brackets shake out. I wouldn't say that, but are they 100 points better than everybody? I think so, yes. But I don't think they're 100 points, as numbers better than everybody else. So I think they're poised to win duals and traditional.
And this is going away. These rankings are based on individual, not duals, by the way. Right. But at the end, I am going to ask you to give me your thoughts on duals champions from each. But all right, looking at 5A Scottsboro.
Yeah, Scottsboro, they returned about 93, 94 points, which is probably enough to win this 5A, to tell you the truth there, without any help there. They lost 2 state champions in the Goggins brothers, and they're really, really good. John Stewart, who wrestles for them, is a middleweight. He is.
Again, I feel like he's been at school.
Well, he's only a junior this year.
I might be thinking he had an older brother.
Yeah, he did. So, but I said Will Anderson pound for pound, but John Stewart would have to be mentioned in the top 5 as the best wrestlers in the state of Alabama, regardless of classification and weight. So, and then you got Stone Stanton coming back. Coach Chris Stanton's son is wrestling there, and I think they're just poised to go back to back. I don't see anybody challenging them for that. And then I put Elmore County there, which again is simply a numbers game to me. They return a lot of points. That's a team I think maybe underperformed this past year, but they bring back a lot of qualifiers. And I think those guys are going to be another year older, another year stronger, another year better. And I think they're just going to be, I think they can make a run to win the Red Trophy. Followed by Corner. Corner did move up. I think that Corner moving up is going to help them to get in the top 2, I think. They returned all but 2 qualifiers. And out of those 2 qualifiers, one of those didn't even score any points. So Corner's going to bring back a lot of points. And whether or not it translates to 5A, we'll see. But I think Corner can be up there at the end. Arab, maybe a little underranked. Talked to a couple people when I'm doing these. I think I underrank Arab. But Arab has really, I'm probably going to take a beating. They just really haven't impressed me. I mean, they qualified 4 kids last year, which is not typical of an Arab program. So, but hopefully, Coach Routon can get them, rided the right direction there and all that. They do have Kobe Silva coming back. he's going to make the room better. He's a really good wrestler, and and they are in the north, so it's going to kind of cut down on some of their qualifiers, I think. So, and then I got Hayden, one of my good friends thinks Hayden's going to be number 2, a coach that you know. And they qualified a lot of wrestlers. They only scored 22 points last year, but they're young. And, don't be surprised if you see Hayden up there in second place when all is said and done. So, and to round out I really had a hard time, not taking a shot at any of these schools, had a hard time finding 10 schools, I think, and you've got Shelby County. All these teams are young. St. Clair County, Beauregard, they've got a couple of good kids coming back, Leeds, and I threw Lincoln out there. Lincoln, they were a young program. Coach Crunkleton, second-year coach out there, and if he can get the kids out, they got a couple of Kearse brothers that's going to be better this year. They're young, and I think he can put together 4 or 5 kids that can score. He can make a run in the top 10, which would be a good success for them this year.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at mine, Jeremy. I agree. Once I hit number 6, I didn't really know where to go with these rankings because I really feel like 5A is down. It's Scottsboro and everybody else. You kind of mentioned, of course, Colby Silva coming back for ARAB. The thing with Coach Routon now is he's now the head football coach. So some of that focus now has to be shifted to a different sport a little bit. But I still think that you're going to see ARAB return to form. I think Elmore County is a team everybody's talking about. Of course, they returned 5 guys. You got a guy who really, really good guy last year in Tyler Payton. They've got other guys in that room. I think Elmore County is a team that people are certainly not going to be surprised by.
Right.
Hayden's another one of those teams. I think Hayden really but the thing with Hayden is last year, man, they had a really depressing state tournament. And so kind of what you were saying, for me with Hayden, I need to see it. You know what I'm saying? I need to see them turn it up when the lights come on. Corner at 5, I do think that Corner is in a good position. But again, Corner is similar. I feel like 2 years ago, Corner just, when it got sectionals time, they just disappeared.
Right.
And so last year, a little bit better, but still, I don't think got as high as people thought they could be.
Right.
Obviously, they had some good guys. You look at Corner, there's good guys in that room. Robbins was a good wrestler for them, so, they've got guys. There's no question about that. Shelby County, look, Shelby County, they've been basically living off of, Sykes, and he's, gone now.
Right.
But I still think as weak as this is, you still have some guys that could fill the lineup and score points. Beauregard at 7. Again, you kind of get here at 8, 9, and 10, man. I just didn't really know where to go. I didn't think Lincoln was strong enough personally to crack the top 10, so I left them out. So I went with, I do like Leeds though, and I like that they have a former wrestler leading that program. And I think when you got a guy like that, he's going to pour more into that program being from there. So I do like the direction that Leeds is headed. East Limestone is another kind of program coming up that people need to keep an eye on. And St. Clair County is just tradition, So I went with the
throw one more out there. Don't be surprised to see Moody come in the top 10 there too. They had a young team and some kids coming back. So they're
can't believe we're at a point to where Moody ain't even in the top 10.
Top 10, right? It is what it is. So, again, it's strictly a numbers game with a 5A to me. So.
All right, let's take a look at girls. Now, these rankings are my girls' rankings. You did not make girl rankings, Jeremy, but you're just going to kind of give your opinion on these. This year, girls are sanctioned, and it is 1A through 5A, and then 6A, 7A. I think in 1A through 5A, it is already over. Go ahead and give the trophy to Andy Fulmer and the Weaver Bearcat girls.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they have a lot of talent coming back. I'm not sure how many they graduated. A couple, maybe Kinley, his daughter, maybe only one. I'm not sure. I don't keep up with the girls, as I should. I think, but yeah, I think it's a Weaver thing. ARAB's going to have the numbers. I think it's going to be good. If I was ranking, I would probably swap 3 and 4, put Piedmont up there a little closer. And if Alexandria brings back the group they had, they're going to be even stronger too. So I don't, and then 6 and 7A, I think, again, like you said, I think it's Daphne's to lose. I can't, it's hard for me to pick against a state champion like it is. Central Phoenix Enterprise lost a real good girl wrestler. That was nationally ranked. I would put Thompson a little bit higher there, maybe a runner-up, and I think Brookwood up there a little closer too, because Brookwood's got some really good wrestlers coming back. Hewitt Trustful's also got a pretty good girls team too coming back too. So
yeah, Weaver only had one senior, and it was Kinley Fulmer, by the way. They returned obviously Lena Johansson, who's won I don't know how many now. Her little sister Mariah Johansson is going to win 1, 2 maybe before it's said and done. And there's some other people that like. or I think you look at Bailey Brown, she can take a step up this year for them. Jalen Medley, Callie Mayfield. You look at Allie Anderson. That's one too that I think really Allie might bring home a state championship. And then of course Jaylee Carter's really good. Kyra Benson, Ariel Sargent. So they got a lot coming back. For Arab, it was more numbers. Just the numbers they're going to have for the girls. And so that was kind of. And again, you look at though Piedmont, Alexandria, they had the numbers too, but Arab had.
What's going to help is you see, we have 1, 2, 3 out of the top 5 here from Calhoun County, and I think that's going to be a good testament. They've just now passed the thing where they've actually created a head girls wrestling position at every school, created a supplement for that. So now the head wrestling boys coach is not going to have to pull a double duty unless he just wants to, but they can actually hire a coach, that could coach and do separate, if they needed to. So I think that's really a step in the right direction for the girls. I'm glad that it was sanctioned. It was a long time coming. And I'm pretty excited to see what how the state tournament is going to pan out with the girls there too.
And again, the biggest thing with Daphne, Central Phoenix City, Enterprise, Thompson, Brookwood, that group separating is you can't have as many girls in the tournament now that could be preventing points from other teams.
And you do have a girls sectionals too, so it is a qualifier.
That is very true, and that could play a big role. I'm going to tell you right now, if Weaver sends 14 girls in the lineup, they're going to have 14 girls at the state tournament.
Yeah.
I think Piedmont and Alexandria, though, again, I don't think Weaver will be beat, but I think either one of those could get 2. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have the group that probably everybody really wants to hear about, which is 1A through 4A. We'll talk 1A through 4A when we get back, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back on the Locker Room.
We live in a world that moves quickly, and while we are able to connect faster than ever through technology, maybe you've noticed that real connection is hard to come by. Parker Memorial Baptist Church offers you a place to connect, a place to learn more about Jesus and the difference He can make in your life, a place to build relationships with like-minded believers, or maybe discover what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. A place to use the gifts and talents God has given you. A place where we love God and we love you. Parker Memorial Baptist Church, 1205 Quintard Avenue, Anniston. Visit our website for details.
We are back on the Locker Room on this Wednesday afternoon. My name is Namath Pitts. I'm joined in studio today by Jeremy Waters. And Jeremy, there's been a lot of controversy in Class 1A through 4A. Some people say that Class 1A through 4A is just not strong. Some people say that Tallessee's dropping from 5A. They've got 2 guys coming in from Wetumpka. That's the buzz on the street. I don't know if it's true. That's just what I'm hearing. But Jeremy, I have never seen a team that has won back to back to back and won 4 state championships in 3 years be ranked number 2. Did you choose to take Tallassee at number 1, or did you choose to take Weaver at number 1? Let's see Jeremy's 1A through 4A rankings. Either way, you can make a case for both teams. Most people are leaning Tallassee outside of our area, Jeremy. You got Weaver at 1.
Well, like in years, the sectional tournaments on these two are so far apart. The North is so much stronger than the South. So Tallassee is in the South, so they're going to qualify wrestlers. But like you said, three-peat, I can't pick against them. I just can't. With everybody returning, no, they had one senior that graduated that didn't score any points in the state, and here's the thing: we keep saying that return to tournament, and they're still young. They're still young. Weaver has, they had no state champions last year and ended up winning state. And they got, freshmen in the lineup: Kel Fulmer, Peyton, Hayden, Gabe, Dylan Brown. All those guys they're just freshmen this year. And their guys are going to be good. I mean, those guys are going to place in state, and I think they're poised to make a run for several years to come. So I can't pick against Weaver. I really can't. Now, do I think Tallassee is going to be good? Yeah, 100%. Tallassee is going to be good, and Tallassee dropping down from the 5A to 1A through 4A competition. Could they make a push? Yes. I'm excited to see how it pans out. You're going to have a lot of matchups early on with Weaver and Tallassee, I think, because they do reseed state tournament after sectional, so it's not like the champions could meet each other. They could meet each other in the first round, could be in the semis. So I really think it's going to be interesting to see. And just like last year, I think this tournament is going to be won in the wrestlebacks. I don't think it's going to be won by whoever has the most state champions, the most semifinals. I think it's going to be won who has the most places.
People underestimate the amount of points you can score on the left side of the bracket.
Right, and that's how Weaver won last year. The kids just they'd lose a match and then wrestle back to place, and that's how they had to sweat a couple matches in the finals with Asheville. But I think really I think it's Weaver's to lose again. I think so, and I'm really interested to see. Tallahassee, I got Tallahassee at second right there. They finished third in 5A, and everybody just assumes they can beat everybody 1-4. But I don't make that assumption. They do have 10 state qualifiers coming back, two state champions. They have a kid named Land Bell.
Arguably, you could make a case with Anderson could be one of the best pound for pound in state.
Land Bell maybe the best one in 1A through 4A now. If you really want to look at that, he's probably the best. And I think a lot of coaches would say that. We're not the only two just saying that. And and then I thought about this long and hard. I could flip flop these or go even Oak Grove higher, but if you're going to move Tallahassee down from 5A to 4A, Alexandria has the same resume there. I think they really underperformed in the state tournament last year. They didn't have but just a handful of points, but a lot of kids went 0-2. But those kids are going to be back. Those kids are going to be stronger. They're going to move around. Some of these weight classes have got spread out, so you don't have, he had a couple of real good kids sit at home because they just didn't win wrestle-offs. So I think he really needs to get some kids in the higher weight classes to qualify, but I think he will in 1A through 4A. Again, he's stuck in that north section with Weaver and Asheville, and I think Coach Hartdog does a good job out there, and he just didn't just put it all together. And I think this going to 1A 4A is really going to help him do that, So, and we have Asheville right there, and again Asheville could be one of those teams I think could make a push for 2. I mean, and even if, not taking a shot at Weaver, but even if things fall right for Asheville, maybe a 1. I mean, they return 96.5 points.
They almost had it last year.
They almost had it. A couple things go right for them, or Weaver lose a couple of those placement matches. Asheville wins that tournament, and and everybody that Asheville had qualified last year placed 6th or higher. I don't know if you know that or not. Everybody. So everybody that had took home a medal. Everybody that brought the state took home a medal, which is impressive. So, they just Weaver had more, and Asheville they were just a match or two away from winning state. So, and then behind Asheville I have Oak Grove. Again, this could be another team I think could make a push. If things go right for them, they could make a push for number 1. I don't, and things have got to go right. And, they return all their qualifiers. They have David Hill, who, until Tallahassee moved down, was the number 1 ranked, in my opinion, in 1A through 4A. He's a really good wrestler, So I think, all these teams are, this could be a couple of matches away from messing this whole top 5 up. You can turn it all upside down, just a couple of matches. Oak Grove is in the South, too. Even though they're in Birmingham, drive past the Crossplex to get to Montgomery, but they are in the South with Tallahassee. I think that's really going to help them get the number of qualifiers they need to make a push for it. So, and then follow them, I got Ramburn there, who's a young team, again in the South. I got Prattville Christian up there. I really want to give a shout out to that team. They qualified a lot of kids, just didn't score, but those kids are going to be another year older. And Coach Dowd right there with JP2 right there. I think that team, they graduated a couple of kids, but they have a lot of points returning too, so don't be surprised. JP2 could be a sleeper team, I think, could creep up in the top 5. You got White Plains with Coach Manning out there. I'm hearing that they have several kids that have been working hard in the off season. 4 or 5 kids going, to club every day. I mean, every week they can do that. And he's got Hom coming back, who's going to be poised to do it again. Gerald's going to be there, and so if he can put the right things together, I think they're solidly in the top 10.
So let me ask you a question. I think in a duel, Piedmont probably has gotten White Plains for the most part. So individually, why did you take White Plains over Piedmont?
Well, I think scoring in duels are different than scoring in a tournament. I think White Plains has, and to be honest with you, it's good to be one kid, Mason Hom, because I think he's going to score enough points to offset what a couple of Piedmont wrestlers would.
Okay.
So, but if you do a duel, most teams score 6. So, so I think that's why I have them in that right there. And also numbers game. I think Piedmont had kids that would collect forfeits in a duel where White Plains couldn't fill weight classes.
Yeah.
In tournaments, it doesn't work that way. So, I do have Piedmont at 10th. Coach Bragg's been building that program for a while. He had a couple of kids that wrestled previously that didn't wrestle last year that could have made a difference for him. I hear they're coming back. So, but I think Piedmont is poised to make a good run in there. So, but if you look at that right there, I mean, we've always said, and you give a shout out, Calhoun County is a hotbed for wrestling, especially in 1A through 4A. Even the state people were, they take a look at our Calhoun County tournament and see how they place, and you can almost see a state tournament there. I mean, don't be surprised if you see some of the state championships wrestled in our county tournament. So I mean that's but I mean I think that's what I got. That's my top 10.
All right,
so.
well, let's take a look at mine, which is similar but slightly different. Jeremy, I'm with you. Look, here's the deal. Tallahassee has arguably the best wrestler they have the best wrestler in 1A through 4A, have arguably one of the best wrestlers in the state in Land Bell. The rumor is they have 2 transfers from Wetumpka. Until, that track wrestling, November rolls around, December, on the mat, certified, I'm not basing this off of that. But, I know Fulmer doesn't have any transfers, but if you're a guy around here, it is strong. But, if you're at a, in today's world, if you're at a Pell City or, somewhere like that, why would you not just go to Weaver if you want to go to a program?
100%.
But they returned everybody but Chris Thornton, who didn't score really any points at the state tournament. They're very young. Yeah, Tallahassee's older. They're dropping from 5A. But again, I think this happened last year. People are like, oh, Weaver's they're not gonna repeat. They're too young. They returned so many key guys. Look, there was a lot of matches at state that they probably think they should have won before they got to the consolation side that they didn't win.
Right.
Like, I don't even think Weaver wrestled their best wrestling at the state tournament,
No,
Jeremy,
I don't think so either.
and still won the tournament.
Right.
Won on the left side. And a lot of people
They put one kid in the finals.
A lot of people say, well, Tallahassee only scored 7 less points in 5A. The scoring system is completely different.
Right.
I mean, you got, brackets are completely different in terms of size. You may go, well, if there's smaller brackets, that's more impressive for Tallahassee. It's just completely different. I do think what helps Tallahassee is being in the South.
Right.
And we talk about how the South's not as strong. But, Jeremy, the South scored more points than the North at the state tournament last year.
Right.
That was pointed out to me from Coach Meter at Ramburn. So because we talk about how the North's always stronger. But it is Weaver and Tallahassee, and I do think those two right there. But I think you can't talk enough about Asheville. People do not, I am a fault to this too, Jeremy, but why do every year we just, Asheville is, Asheville's returning everybody but Nick Williamson.
Right.
Like, yeah, they lose Nick Williamson, who was a state champion, but you still return everybody else that placed.
Right.
And if guys like Brock Thrash can do what they did
Brady Thrash,
sorry, Brock Thrash was the older brother, wrestled me. If guys like Brady Thrash can do what they did last year again for them and replicate that, that program, people want to be a part of that program because of the success. And by the way, their coaches, do a great job at Asheville.
Yep.
So I think Asheville is right there. Oak Grove, they returned 8 guys from last year. They're going to be really solid. They've been building it. David Hill's one of the best wrestlers in Class 1A through 4A, pound for pound. And they're really good. And you can make a case for them at 3. They think you can make a case for them at 2. But here's my reason for the separation from Weaver and Oak Grove and from Asheville and Oak Grove is if you're Weaver and you only lost 1 guys, they had 10 plus qualifiers a year ago.
Right.
Oak Grove had 8. And you got Tallahassee dropping to the South, which is going to make it harder for Oak Grove.
It's going to cancel out some of those points. Right.
Tallahassee going to the South is not going to hurt Weaver. It's going to hurt Oak Grove. It's going to hurt Prattville Christian. It's going to hurt St. James. It's going to hurt Ramburn. So that's who should be concerned about Tallahassee dropping down, not Weaver. In my opinion, it should be those programs that have to get the qualifiers to the state tournament to have a chance. Now, Oak Grove's really good, and I think they're a top 4 team, could be top 2. I really do believe that. But I think they should be more concerned about Tallahassee, in my opinion, than Weaver should for right now because of sectionals. Because that does determine the amount of guys that get to the state tournament.
That's correct.
Alexandria at 5, they just you lose Preston Jones, and that's going to hurt them. But look, Coach Hardzog's other son that played basketball a year ago is going to come back out. He wrestled. He's
a qualifier, definitely a qualifier.
He was, and so there's other guys. I think you can't speak enough about Hardzog and the program they have. It's really good.
Yeah, but they've had a program, 11 years?
Yeah.
11 and had 4 kids wrestling college. That's impressive. That's a testament to Coach Hardzog.
Coach Dowd and St. John Paul II. Look, they squeaked right in there and got 3rd place at that duels tournament. And they lose Jack Von Eschenbach. They got some really good pieces coming back.
Good lightweights.
They are going to be really good. Meter's going to be really good too. Obviously, Driver's coming back. Obviously, Benefield's back. Both of his state champions. You can build off of that. I think they're going to be really good. I can see them popping in maybe up as close as 5. Prattville Christian, Coach Stagg's team, really took a jump last year. And they had one guy that busted weight.
Yep.
That was a point scorer, So that was one guy they were down. And
had their first state champion last year.
And then I'm agree with you. You probably look at this and say, well, you can make a case for St. James. But, I do think Coach loses a couple scorers that, and they had injuries and stuff that kind of derailed them at the end of last year. They did good at the duels, but it was like they just didn't turn it on in February at the state tournament. You can make a case for Montgomery Catholic. I love what Coach is doing there at Montgomery Catholic. They got guys back as well. You can make a case, that somebody like Welborn could pop in. But I went with White Plains 9, Piedmont 10. The reason for that, again, is because of the amount of guys that graduated from St. James, because of the guys, just Hom, state champion, Gerald, former state champion, state placer. And there's guys outside of that that are going to take a jump this year, Jeremy, in my opinion. Team-wise, I would probably say Piedmont wins in a duel. Individually, I give the edge. And the Piedmont's 10 simply because of this. And I love Coach Bragg. He's probably going to text me after the show and give me something about this. But they underperformed badly at the state tournament last year.
There's another team that we left out right there that's traditionally been good is Cleveland County. We didn't put Cleveland County in there. They lost a lot. They've got some young kids coming back. I could really see them making a push for that. But I didn't include them in my top 10.
I honestly didn't even think about that.
But yeah, I think all of our teams here in this area are going to be better. I think you're going to see Sachs, my alma mater. I think they're going to be better. We've had one qualifier the last couple of years. I think they've got a couple 3 on that team. They arguably had one of the best 106s that got hurt. Week before sectionals, and Tristan Garrett, he's going to be back. I mean, you're going to have a few kids. Come back on that team. You got, like I said, a few teams we have. Pleasant Valley is going to be okay. Coach Nix, I think he's going to do good up there. So, but I think you and I have exactly the same top 10. We just have them in different orders.
I kind of regret not putting Cleveland County in my rankings now. So can we just go scratch at 8, put Cleveland County at 8,
just
scratch at 9, put Prattville Christian there, and scratch at 10 and put White Plains there. Let's just bump those down because I apologize, Coach Mayfield.
I went back and forth with Cleveland County. I had them as high as 7, and then I had them out of the rankings altogether. Again, it was just a numbers game to me, just trying to see what they had coming back versus what they
return Austin Mayfield, state champion.
Right.
But they do lose another Mayfield that scored points for them.
And you don't understand, but you get a state champion. Hypothetically, that's 26 points that they could score in a tournament, 26 points. And if you go back and look, the 10th place team last year, ASB, scored 34 or something like that. So one person could make a difference in there. That's what I said. So you talking about the transfers and all that. I mean, you get one transfer. Like if Tallahassee did pick up the kids from Wetumpka, one of those state champion, that could be enough to push them across the top. I mean, by a considerable margin. So, but yeah, I think that's what we have.
Jeremy, we have went a long time, so to wrap up the show, all right, your pick duels-wise to win Class 7A.
It's still hard for me to pick against Vestavia with the kids they have coming back. Again, dual scoring and tournament scoring is a different thing. I really, to be honest with you, wouldn't be surprised if Huntsville would repeat there, just with the spread out they had the points there. It's going to be fun to watch.
I'm going Huntsville duels, Vestavia traditional. All right, Class 6A.
Oh, Mountain Brook. I just don't. I just don't think, and I think they could win it by 25.
Yeah, I'm going Mountain Brook traditional, Mountain Brook duels 5A.
Scottsboro. I mean, that's again, they have enough kids to do it just to do that, and then So, but yeah, I'm gonna go Scottsboro. All right,
so I'm going Scottsboro. 1A through 4A.
I really don't know how the new regions have shaken up as far as north and south. I'm assuming Tallahassee and Weaver are separated in there. Lee, I love you Weaver guys, but I think Tallahassee may be the team in a duel. I think it comes down to bonus points, whether it be pins or majors or techs. And I think Tallahassee could have the edge in the duel. Now, I'm not saying that again. I know I just said it. Just put it out there. And again, this is on the assumption maybe they got those transfers in, but that's why we wrestle it, and that's why that's why math. I mean, that's why wrestling's not a math test. You know,
Jeremy, Weaver doesn't get pinned. Just keep in mind that.
Look, I know that. Look. I wrestled in the days with Gene Taylor days, and wrestled in the days. Weaver's always been tough.
All right,
gritty.
I'm biased all day. I'm going Weaver.
Coward.
I'm sticking with our local team. I ain't a coward. Andy Fulmer's the GOAT, dude. There needs to be a street named after him.
100%.
I think when it's said and done, he'll have at least 7 state championships. That's what I say.
Look, you're not wrong.
So,
you're not wrong there.
But I wrestled Tallahassee, man. Tallahassee is talented. We go back and forth about Tallahassee Weaver. I think that's what everybody wants to talk about.
Hey, look,
there's absolutely zero disrespect.
And Coach Mask is one of my favorite people. I love John Mask. He's a great guy. He's a good coach. He does it right down there. He cares about the kids, and he'll fight tooth and nail to get a 7 seed over an 8 seed. I've seen him do it in hundreds of seed meetings I've been in.
Before we close, wasn't in your rankings, but could come out of nowhere this year and do some damage.
Oh Lordy, I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question. I don't know. I kind of stick by my rankings a little bit. We mentioned Cleveland County. I think they could be. They could make a push to be there. I just don't think anybody in 7A I think could do.
I'll tell you who I think it's a team. Cleveland County. I agree. Ohatchee. Injuries killed them last year.
Yeah, they did kill them, but I don't think they have enough. I'd love to see it. Chris Finley does a great job. Joe Lathers, those guys are great. I don't know if they're going to have enough on the team, to be honest with you, that we could come.
Bob Jones was my higher classification because I had them out. All right, that's going to do it for us. Jeremy, thank you for joining me today in studio, buddy. Hey, we all hope that you have a great afternoon. Hey, we'll be back on the Locker Room Friday afternoon. We'll have highlights of Walter Walburn's youth football camp. Also hear from Ohatchee new head boys basketball coach Quintarius Hutchinson, so we'll have more on that Friday. Hey, join us on our East Alabama Now News tonight at 6:30 p.m. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you for watching the Locker Room.